I'm truly so grateful for Rebekah sharing her various avenues of stories from pregnancy and birth trauma to momming and really taking care of your children and the routines you can set up and the experiences that you can expose them to just being a woman, being a wife, being a girl, and how you can take care of yourself in that way. And then to investing and hopefully building that generational wealth for you and for your families to come. You are listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which invites you along on a journey to learn of mindful living, grow in mental health, and inspire through personal growth. In a world where we can often feel much stress and overwhelm, this podcast provides bite-sized tips and real talk conversations, empowering you to embrace mindfulness and nurture your full potential. I'm your host, Vanessa De Jesus Guzman, licensed therapist, retired educator, entrepreneur, and mom of two. I'm passionate about helping busy moms reduce the overwhelm and to live life intentionally without losing their, well, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. My guest today, her name is Rebekah Taylor, and I always record the intro after we do the interview, but I am just so excited for you to hear this because it can land in so many different directions depending on where you are in life and what you need right now. And I am just so thankful for Rebekah, and I know that you're going to get so much out of this interview. But let me tell you a little bit more about her. So Rebekah Taylor is a third generation real estate professional, and her husband bought their first rental property in 2012. Then she spent a decade in the tech space as a sales and marketing professional and transitioned to a full-time investor in 2020. She's based out of Lynchburg, Virginia, and that's where she lives with her husband and her three children. And she says she's an expert at making her money work harder than she does and how important that is. She also has a ton of experience outside of real estate. So she's been director of investor relations for two real estate firms and ownership in over 1,000 units. She's a licensed real estate agent. And in addition to that, she started Tailored Investments to help clients achieve financial freedom through acquiring income generating real estate assets. And she is just amazing, right? So like this rundown of her professionalism, obviously, she's a well-versed person, but then her personal story just as impactful. So I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did recording it. Here we go. Rebekah, welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I'm so glad you're with us today.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. It is so good to be here.
Thank you. And we heard a little bit about your intro when we started here, but I'd love to give you the space to share a little bit about yourself and what you do in life.
Absolutely. So on a personal note, my faith and family are first and foremost important to me. And I spend a lot of time in those spaces. I live in Lynchburg, Virginia with my husband of 16 years and three kids. I have young kids. And so they definitely keep us busy, but it's a blessing to be with them and have some flexibility with my work schedule to be able to be available. And so we love to travel. We just got back from a road trip this summer for about 6 weeks, and we traveled around the country all the way up to Alaska, which was really fun. We've
Driving?
been over. Well, we drove from Virginia to Montana, and then
Uh-huh.
we flew from Montana to Alaska.
Okay,
So
I'm like, wait, you can connect through there, but wow, that's amazing.
yeah, it was really fun. It was a blast. So we've been over 30 countries, and we love exploring and seeing the world, and introducing our children to that. They haven't been to all those countries yet, but one day I hope that they'll experience a lot of that too.
And how old are your kids?
I have an 8-year-old girl, a 5-year-old boy, and a 11-month-old baby
Oh
girl.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. So they are peanuts still, and you lug them around to a lot of these places. So are they used to traveling and just meeting new people and eating new foods?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're pretty flexible. We did buy a van in April because we were in a little like small SUV and traveling with that. I mean, over spring break, we went to Florida. I could barely see them in the back seat right behind me because we had so much stuff. It was like covering
Right.
their whole bodies. I mean, I could see little eyes poke out, and I was like, we have to get a bigger car. So thankfully the van has been wonderful and they've really enjoyed traveling. So yeah, they do great along the way. This summer we stopped in Milwaukee and saw a Brewers baseball game. We stopped in Minneapolis and saw the Twins play. We had a chance to explore and see family, and they just had so much fun. It was a lot of great memories.
That's so awesome. And have you taken them overseas?
So we took our daughter when she was about 1. We took her to Colombia, South America.
Okay.
She loved that, and they all loved her because she's just this cute little white baby at the time, So they were so excited. And then we took both of our two, the girl and boy, to Costa Rica, and
Nice.
that was a couple of years ago. We have not, we did take our baby to Alaska. So, but obviously
Okay.
the United States. So yeah, we're hoping to do more of that. My goal for not this summer, but the summer after is I'll be turning 40. And so I told my husband, we are going to Australia and we're going to spend, a month in Australia and a couple weeks in New Zealand. So that is on my bucket list. And I'm going to make it happen.
So good. I really hope that you do. And I'm glad that you're going for a long time because the time travel to get used to everything takes a little while. I haven't been there, but my cousin lives there, and that's definitely on my bucket list. And I asked, by the way, folks, we're not talking about travel, but we're just chit-chatting. And I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Um, I ask about traveling because we try to expose our kids to as much as possible just because we can. And even though when I was young, I traveled a lot to Dominican Republic, which is where my family is from. But after a while, like it wasn't vacation, it was just like visiting family. But we try to expose my son, my 10-year-old now, to as much as possible. But we haven't taken him to Europe because I'm like, dude, you're just going to complain about how much walking there is to do and not really appreciate. And you just want to be poolside or beachside
Yeah.
and, with a pina colada in your hand. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. So it's nice to expose them to as much as possible because there's a lot of learning that happens outside of a classroom, I always say.
I totally agree. My first real exposure to being overseas was like my freshman year of college. This has been, oh my gosh, like 20 years ago. But I went to Rotan, Honduras, and we did a mission trip. And so seeing poverty, like a third world country, was so eye-opening and just helped me realize like this world is not about me. There's a lot of
Right.
people that are in need. And so my parents took all 5 of us kids on that mission trip, and it was so
So awesome.
incredible. And I want to do so, those types of things with our kids because I don't want it to just be like vacation. I want it to be how can we serve other people? So we've done a lot of that
Yes.
too in our marriage. I've been to India, been to Uganda, been to Morocco, been to
So
some other countries.
awesome.
And so it's been really cool to be able to utilize our gifts and help other people.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. So good. Again, we're not talking about travel, but that
Mhm.
kind of like fills my heart up. So thank you so much for sharing. And then professionally, what do you do?
Absolutely. So I am a real estate investor. I've been investing in real estate for the last 12 years. I did it very much on the side. Well, I spent 10 years in the tech world doing sales and marketing. And then in 2020, I was pretty burned out. We were in the midst of COVID, obviously, and things were a little tough. I was realizing, hey, life is short, actually. And this is probably a conversation we'll get into. But in 2016, we had our first baby, and I had a near-death experience. It was really
Mm.
scary. And so that was kind of the start of realizing how short life is and how much I want to utilize my time and I want to be present for those people I love. And so as time went on and I had spent those years in tech, I was like, this is just not for me. I'm making great money in my job and I'm doing well, but I'm not present. I'm traveling all the time. I'm so stressed. I'd be having dreams about my sales quotas. And I was like, I just can't keep doing this. And so 2020 rolled around. I quit my job and people thought I was crazy. They're like, what in the world? Why would you quit a good job that you're making great money in? But I just realized it was time. And so we actually got a camper and went and traveled the country for 3 months. And so that was, kind of the prime to what we did this summer. It was a shorter version this summer, but it was a really cool opportunity with our 2 young kids to explore and dream. And I think as we get
Mm.
older, it becomes harder to dream. And
Yep.
so that was just an amazing opportunity. And during that, I kind of realized, hey, real estate's been really good to us in the kind of minimal amount we've done. It was helping to support our trip because we had some rentals. And so I decided I need to come back and do that full time. And so I got my license as a realtor. We bought more rental properties. And then I got into this world of what we call syndications and their group investments. And so I help bring together investors and deals, and we buy around the country large properties, and it gives our investors cash flow and appreciation, some equity growth, like tax benefits, diversification. It's really hands off, and so that's my role now is helping other people invest in real estate, and I just love like helping them create more time freedom as they are able to generate passive income.
And you're not even 40 yet. How would. Oh my goodness, Rebecca,
Mhm.
there's so much there that
Mhm.
I definitely want to get into. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing. Before I want to thank you before we even jump in. And I want to start with the pandemic just changed so much of our lives. And I really want to tie that in. And I think anything can really be tied into mindful living, but having that awareness that so many of us live through, like, oh my goodness, what's happening in our world? But also, how am I intentionally living? Am I fulfilled? Am I happy? Like, is this where I want to be at this stage in my life, regardless of how old you are? But especially if you're like, after living a little while, like, what do I do for the second third of my life, and then the last third, or hopefully longer of your life, and really be able to be fulfilled and be happy in life. And it sounds like you really took advantage of that and like turned your world upside down for the better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was scary. And we still have moments being an entrepreneur that are scary, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I'm so thankful for the freedom that we have now and the flexibility and the time that I get to be, available for my kids when they get off the bus every day. I'm here and I'm not, on the other side of the country because of a work trip or dealing with those stressful sales quotas in a little cubicle.
Yeah, and as a mom, I totally get that. I came from the world of education, so obviously leaving work at 3 o'clock, I wasn't able to be there to pick up my kid at 3 o'clock. But now, as an entrepreneur, having that flexibility and there's a lot of work, and sometimes I'm working way until the night, as I'm
True,
sure
true,
you
true.
know.
Yeah,
But having that ability to just, work your schedule and be there for your kids and not miss those moments is, you can't take them. It's invaluable.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So that happened during the pandemic, but I feel like we're going to go back before we go forward. You said you had a near death experience.
Yes. So my husband and I waited 8 years to have our first baby. We were just
Mm.
enjoying life. Like I said, traveling a lot. We were trying to make good financial decisions and just prepare best we could. And so got pregnant, had a great pregnancy. Then the last trimester, I started experiencing these really weird migraines that would take out my vision, couldn't
Wow.
see, and was just it was awful pain. I mean, I couldn't do anything. It would totally debilitate me. And so 12 days before my due date, I started experiencing some excruciating pain in my stomach and started throwing up. And we called the doctor and they're like, that doesn't sound like contractions. I think something else is going on. Like, try this, try this, try this. Nothing helped. It just kept getting worse. And unfortunately, we were about an hour and a half from the hospital because of insurance. I couldn't go to the hospital here locally. So finally, they were like, you got to come in. Like something is not right. You need to come in as soon as possible. And again, it wasn't quite my due date. We were about almost 2 weeks out, but my husband grabbed our stuff as fast as possible, put me in the back of the car. And I just laid back there with like my eyes rolling behind my head. And I couldn't even handle the pain. It was so bad. I remember thinking like, God, let me die. Like, please save the
Wow.
baby, but please let me die because I literally cannot, like, it got to a point where I couldn't breathe. So what was happening is I had severe preeclampsia and then I also had a HELP syndrome. It's HELLP. So my liver was about to rupture. Internally, it was so large, I couldn't, like, my organs were all shutting down. So
Wow.
it was a really scary experience. He drove like 90 miles an hour to the hospital, got me there, and literally, like, there was a change of shift with the nurses and doctors. And so there was just a rush of people that came in. And again, I remember thinking, like, let me just die or like put me under because I cannot handle the pain
Take the
anymore.
pain.
So yeah, so they had me sign documents and that's the last thing I remember for like 3 days. And so they put me under, they got the baby out. She was like 5.5 pounds small, but she was so healthy and doing great. I, on the other hand, had a lot of complications, as you can imagine. They typically, when you get the baby out, that kind of solves the problem, but they couldn't get my organs to start working again, right? And they nicked something internally when they did the procedure, the emergency C-section. And so I had a lot of internal bleeding. They had to go in for a second surgery to get that off my abdomen and try a lot of medication to just get me stabilized. And so it was a rough go. I was in the ICU for a couple of days. I think my blood pressure, they said, was like 275 over like 150. They were like, I can't believe
Wow.
you didn't have a stroke. I mean, they kept saying that, like, you are a miracle. Like, you should have died. Everything was going wrong for you. And like, we cannot believe that you're alive right now. And so it was God. I mean, I believe that. And it was just a wild experience. I was in the hospital for a little bit. And I mean, it took like a month for me to be able to like go to the bathroom by myself, like much
Wow.
less care for my baby. And we had some great help, like with family and my husband. But it was frustrating. She'd never wanted to breastfeed because she had been on a bottle the first couple days while I was out of
Right.
it. And so that was hard. I literally pumped for a year.
Mm.
It was so challenging. I would take my pump, in airports and travel with trips in my office, and carry my cooler around with all the breast milk, but we made it work. And then I was able to have two more, and they were such different pregnancies. Actually, my last one that we had almost a year ago was my best. And so it was really
Yeah.
cool to see that redeemed, and a blessing. But it was a rough go. Definitely gave me a whole new appreciation for life.
Yeah. I must have said wow like 10 times and I have chills going down my arms right now. And really what a miracle. And this is not a faith-based podcast, but I do believe in a higher being and I do think that things don't happen by chance, right? It's always for something. And I'm just so glad that you're here to share your story and hopefully help other women through, the things that you have been through. And for that to be your first pregnancy and have that experience and then have two more.
Yeah. I was scared. I was so scared, but I didn't.
Really?
Both my husband and I were like, we don't want to just have one. We want to have, I come from a big family. I'm the oldest of five. He's one of four. So we were like, we want our baby to have a playmate, and they are
Yeah.
best friends. They are like the cutest little best friends ever. So, but I was terrified. I didn't really want to go through it again. And I was so scared it would happen again. And it didn't. I had some other minor complications they call a spinal leak. So we had to do a procedure for that. It was very painful, but much better than what I had had before. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And to be able to stay present as much as possible while you're going through that, right? Because obviously, you go under and then you don't remember anything for a couple of days. That's tough. But then be okay enough to kind of like want to keep going, right? It's motherhood is so much in and of itself. The pregnancy part is one thing, but even that birth part, I feel like no matter how many books you read or how many sites you go on, how many people you talk to, you could never be prepared to what your actual experience is going to be because everybody's experience is so different.
Mhm.
Yours obviously, takes the
Yes.
cherry on top. And really to want to, have the awareness enough to like just save my baby, just make sure like we just shift so much and everything goes from us to our child.
I know, absolutely. I'm so thankful that we both made it, not just her. I mean, obviously, I would
Yeah.
have preferred if either it would be her, but yeah, for the fact that we were both here. And I will say, like, the journey hasn't all been easy. I did go to counseling for a while because I had some like PTSD from that experience. It really gave me a ton of anxiety. I think I was constantly scared for years about my health. I was like,
Right.
am I dying? Am I dying? Like all these weird things that you kind of experience after that. Something like that happens. And so
Yeah.
counseling has been really helpful. I was on some anxiety medication for a little while. That was also really helpful. Did a lot of hard work, in terms of getting healthy again, not just physically, but mentally, because
Mentally.
I mean, like the
Hmm.
mental, it can affect your physical being so much. And so I can't even stress enough, like take care of your mental space, not just your physical.
Yeah, I again I have chills as you said that. And I thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that because so often either we're scared to share or just a stigma that it has. But when you share that out loud, other people can say, like, oh, it is okay. Or like I'm not the only one going through things, especially when in that mother space, especially when here you are like you picture one thing. I feel like the whole 9 months, you're like, oh, it's going to be beautiful. And the baby's just going to pop right out and latch on and everything's going to be just, happily ever after. And
Mhm.
oftentimes that is not the case, but we're so used to seeing on TV and the media how, like, one picture that when you, let's say, don't walk out, which was my experience, when you don't walk out of the hospital with the baby in your arms, like that's a lot. And it does take a big toll on your mental health that you're right. It's a lot of work to become okay with that, but with the help of therapy, because trying to do that on your own is near to impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot say more. I mean, and even like in marriage, my husband and I are actually just starting marriage counseling. And not
Oh.
because we have anything majorly wrong in our marriage. We're like, we've been married 16 years and we want to make our marriage better. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot that we've learned. And, after being together that long, things sometimes may become a little stagnant. Or, I mean, we've got kids and we've got work, we have businesses we're running, and it's sometimes hard to prioritize. And so we decided, We would love to have some extra guidance just to help us get to the next phase of our lives and our marriage because we value it that much. And so we see how important this is. And I mean, my husband even has a psychology degree. Like he started a counseling degree. And so he's in a lot of counseling himself, but he's still
Mhm.
like, I want this for our marriage. And so we're just getting started. Don't ask me questions yet because I haven't experienced a whole lot of it, but this is our first time again in 16 years that we're like, let's do this. I think this will be really helpful for our marriage.
Yeah, that makes my heart happy. And I wish you all the best on that journey. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So here, like you were saying, you have these businesses, and before we get into more of the work stuff, then you have this really traumatic experience because that's exactly what it is. And then you have two other peanuts in
Mhm.
addition to your first to take care of, which that in and of itself, I mean, that is a whole job,
Yeah.
big, big, big job. So how do you juggle the three little ones, just the three little ones before we get into anything else?
I think having some regular rhythms and routines is important. We are really big on having like dinner together every night. And there's nights here and there where it just doesn't happen, but we sit down at the table and it literally might be like hot dogs and mac and cheese. It's nothing fancy, but it's time where we sit and we often ask like about their highs and lows and about the
Yep.
day that they had and just get them to engage with us. We on Friday nights, it's our pizza movie night. So we typically stay in and we watch a movie and have pizza together. It's just chill, but it's fun to relax together. Um, we I think it's just giving ourselves some grace because I used to be such a clean freak. Like my house, I was so focused on having it all nice and neat all the time. And
Uh-huh.
that's not
Uh-huh.
feasible with children. Like it's a wreck, like most of the time. We host a group on Thursday night. So this is the day, like later on this evening, before they come, I'm going to get my house clean. But a lot of the week, it's just a mess. And I have to just let those things go. Like I have to give myself grace, realizing that this is part of life and this is a season. We're in a season where it's going to be harder. And that's okay. I'm not going to always get sleep
Okay.
every night, and that's okay. I'm going to drink some more coffee. Like just realizing what season we're in and respecting that season, loving that season and enjoying it because someday they'll be gone. They'll be grown up and they're going to be out of my house. And so, how can I enjoy the moments with them, even if they're hard or stressful? They're going to only be little for so long. So,
Yeah.
I think just realizing that, but also I mean, just last week, our baby started at a little early learning center daycare. And so
Oh,
that was hard. I've been with her for 11 months but she's getting to the age where she needs a little bit more attention. She's moving, getting into everything, and it's hard to get my work done. And so we went back and forth and we're like, do we want to do this? And I was like, I think we need to try it. And she's doing great. She's enjoying the interaction, being very well cared for and learning new things. And I don't keep her there all day. So some days we pick her up really early and I get to be with her, but just realizing our needs. And for me, I think I work better if I have a space mentally to use my gifts, my skills. And so if
mm-hmm.
being a stay-at-home mom is amazing, and there's so many awesome moms, so many of my friends that do
Yes,
that, and I have so much respect for them because like it's a hard job being home
it
with your
is.
24/7. It's so hard. So for me I like to have a balance. I like to be with them, but I also need some time and space to use to run the business. And so that's given us that time, and I'm thankful for it. I miss her, but I'm also like
Yeah.
she's doing great, and we do get the time together after and on the weekends. And so it's a balancing act. I haven't figured it out, figuring out every day.
I don't think we ever fully figure it out. However, you are doing an amazing job because there's so many gems that you just shared right there that I really want to hopefully do justice and pick out all of them, if not most of them, because as moms, we just do what we got to do, right? We just keep going, but we don't give ourselves credit for the things that we do. And in addition to that, sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing so good because we're just like survival, just like doing the best we can with what we've got. But there's a lot of things that you mentioned that I want listeners and viewers to pick up on because if we integrate some of that, just kind of things don't get less stressful, but the feeling of it and like the joy that you can experience really gets to shine through.
Mhm.
So I don't know in what order you said it, but first you said having routines and
Mhm.
spending some time with family. And your oldest is 8, you said?
Mhm, mhm.
So asking about highs and lows, even as old as 8 and as young as however many little words your middle one can spurt out, that in itself has so much value because you're establishing family time. You're helping like all the communication skills and social skills and making sure they can socialize and have a conversation, but you're also teaching them what's important, and that's like that family time. So that is huge right there, and giving them a routine of at night we eat dinner and then whatever your routine in the family is before you start the bedtime routine. And that really helps kids kind of know what's next, just like it's in school, right? Like you have a certain routine in your day at home that helps as well. So that is big in and of itself. In and of itself. You also said having grace with yourself and
Mhm,
letting things go,
mhm.
allowing sometimes that it is going to be messy, but sometimes we put so much emphasis, like you were saying, on like having that picture perfect house that we all strive to have.
I know.
But then there's Legos everywhere, or there's like paint in places that there shouldn't be, or whatever it is. But they do grow up so fast, And if we don't like savor those moments before you know it, then they're going to be 18, 21, maybe 28, then leaving the house, and then you're going to miss it. And you're going to say, remember when. So, really taking advantage of those moments when the house is messy and kind of looking through the things that really count and not just the messy house because, it's always going to be messy at some point or another.
Exactly. It's like every second you clean it up, it just gets messy again. So why just keep cleaning it?
And
Oh,
letting some of those high expectations go, not only just with the house I heard, but, with other things and just enjoying them where they're at right now.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So important.
I think you said some other things, but those are the things that really stick out to me. Hopefully, people remember or can press rewind to hear it again because there are so many wonderful things. And it doesn't mean that you feel happy go lucky all the time, but it does just help savor the present moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, so good. What
Um,
what are your recommendations? I'm curious because you've been at parenthood longer than I have. Anything that you would add?
Just by well, almost 3 years. My son's about to turn 11 at the point that we're doing this recording. And it's so different, as you were saying, like the pregnancy and the birth experience, so different from that one, which had a little bit of trauma attached to it. And then my second one, which, well into my 40s now, and having a baby in your 40s, I was also scared, but had such a better experience the second time around, which was just nice to have after the first one. But I really think is knowing that there's always going to be things to do. There's always going to be dishes in the sink. There definitely is always going to be fold to clothes, clothes to fold because that's the life of laundry. But just stopping and playing with them, not being afraid to play, I think is huge. Sometimes we forget how to do that, which is okay. But knowing that our kids can be our teachers too is,
Mhm,
one of something that I tell my parents a lot, especially in the therapy room as we're doing play because I work with kids. Like
mhm,
they can teach you a lot. And sometimes you just have to have the time to like, okay, I'm gonna, play with you for even if it's 5 minutes, that's okay. But also like let them be the teacher, let them be the guide. So often we're the ones kind of like talking at them, but we can learn a whole lot from our kids just as much as they're learning from us. So
that's
that's
so
something
good.
big that I try to remind parents a lot.
I love that. I'm gonna write that down and look at it every day because that is such good advice.
Yeah, play, play, play. So that's something really good and just, enjoy. I mean, even like, the messy diapers and like the throwing up and it's just all those little things. Cause one day you look at videos and you're like, oh, it's gone. It passed by so fast. And then there's another set of challenges, each stage has its own stuff. So enjoying where you're at, which you definitely are doing in a very busy life. Cause you said you have all of these things, the businesses, and then you're still traveling for fun, but traveling for work also still.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. I try to keep the travel for work minimal.
Mhm.
Next month is a little bit busy. I just have I was telling, we were talking earlier, a mastermind that's down in North Carolina and then a conference in Florida. So typically it's twice in 1 month, but if I can avoid it, I would prefer to do every month or every other month, as minimal as possible. But it is fun to get out because I work from home.
Yes.
So I enjoy seeing people when I can get out for these events.
Yeah, and you said that before as well, as far as stay-at-home moms are incredible. I don't think that I'd be able to do it day in, day out because one, it's hard, but also, like you said, I like using my talents and the gifts that I have and in order to help people and serve people. And
Mhm.
that is awesome when you have the opportunity to do that, but also enjoy your kids. So carving out that space for you, whether it be for professionalism, it's so awesome you get to travel for the mastermind. But then hopefully for you as well, just as a girl.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. You need that. You need some space and time to get away every once in a while. My husband and I we've tried to implement that in. Like earlier this year, he took a guy's trip. And then this summer,
Nice.
I took a girl's trip. And, just have a few days to be with friends and disconnect a little bit, feel like you're young again. And I mean, we are young, but, to not feel like we have so many responsibilities because sometimes it feels
It's a
overwhelming with how
lot.
much we're juggling.
Yeah, and I wonder if you experience what I experienced, that when you do take that time away from your partner and also maybe from your kids, that then when you come back, it's I don't know, it's just more awesome when you come back. You have a time to miss them, but then the connection gets so much stronger.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, so that's another tip for folks is try to make some time for yourself, but that's not always easy. So how is it that can kind of how do you go about the scheduling with your partner as far as like, okay, this is what I have to do, this is what I'd like to do. How can we make this happen?
Yes. Oh, it's hard. I mean, we have to really look at our calendars in advance, and sit down and like schedule it out, put it on there so that we know like this weekend is blocked off and you have the kids. Like you are responsible for if it's soccer or whatever we have going on. Like right now we're doing swim lessons. So, coming up, my husband's gonna have to be the one that's home early enough to get them to
Yep.
swim lessons because I'll be gone. So
Yeah.
we just, yeah, we have to be very intentional, really focused on our calendars and figuring out how to fit it in. And then just taking I mean, it truly, it's a little bit of a sacrifice for each of us, like when they're gone, because you just have more on your plate trying. And I have, again, so much respect for not only moms that are home, but single moms
Single
that are
moms,
trying to juggle
yes.
it all. Like, oh my goodness, they are saints. And so I just like, I don't know how they do it, but they're awesome. My cousin is one and she is just incredible. And I love her so much. So, yes, I think it's important finding time. If it's not your significant other that's helping you, maybe finding other family or friends that you can like take
Hmm.
turns, even if it's just for a few hours. So like, babysit each other's kids so that you can get away because I mean, just being with children all the time, can be
A lot.
exhausting. So
Yeah.
having those moments are very important.
Yeah, someone you can tag team to kind of take a time out. And sometimes, like you say, it's a sacrifice. And it sounds so silly. And I know it's like first world problems. But sometimes I tell my husband, like, you can go golfing in the morning, that you can, but like, okay, you're gonna go golfing, but try to do 9 holes instead of 18 because because I don't think I can hang on for the length of time of the 18, and it's just that compromising to try
Mhm.
to make it work so that we both get our self-care in because
Yes.
self-care is that, going golfing or like just having a girls trip or going away to a mastermind that also helps professionally.
Yeah, I think we're just better parents when we have those moments and time and space to be alone or be with friends and not just be a parent.
Absolutely. So you take care of your family, obviously, and finding ways to take care of yourself. And now tell us about these amazing businesses that you run.
Oh, thank you. So like I said, we've been investing in real estate for a long time, and we've just seen tremendous benefits with growing our wealth. As you probably, if you own a home, the last couple of years, you've probably seen it appreciate pretty drastically. Just the real estate market in general has done very well, and historically, real estate's just been a really safe, conservative place to put your money. And so, I've loved being able to, buy more properties. My husband and I have bought more properties, rentals, and we have property management that takes care of them and manages day-to-day operations. But then we are able to buy larger. Like we just this summer in June purchased a 100-unit apartment complex here in Lynchburg, Virginia, where we live. And that was a group effort. So there was other investors that came into it. And so you're able to come in as a passive investor and put your money to work, but avoid the day-to-day headaches of being a landlord with like toilets and tenants and trash. I mean, it is a lot of work having
It is.
property if you're, especially if you're managing it. So we give our investors access to really quality deals in great locations that have a lot of upside opportunity. And it's a place where they can put their money for maybe five. Typically, we're looking at about a 5-year hold on a property. And so they put their money to work and they still get again to share in like cash flow and appreciation of the property, the equity growth as tenants are paying down the mortgage and diversification outside of like the stock market, which
Mhm.
fluctuates so much. And then it's, it's very hands off, it's passive, and you're getting to lean on other people's experience. And so it's been great. Our investors love it, and we've loved seeing the results too. It's given us, again, some time freedom as some of our investments. I mean, it's just like clockwork. Every month we get a check for those. And it's just been a blessing for our family.
Yeah, and how amazing it is to have almost like I look at it like streams of income,
Yeah.
from different places.
Yes.
And for people, especially women and especially moms, to learn how to work smarter with money and not harder. And it seems like this is an amazing way if you have the means to do so, is go in on things on investments like this so that it can come back to you and then create generational wealth for your families and your children.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's huge. I mean, it really is huge. And one other thing I think I failed to mention in my story is I've actually gone through 2 job losses. I've been through 2 layoffs, and those were very hard. I am passionate about my work. And so the first time I lost a job, it was like one of the hardest things I've ever been through in my life. I was not expecting it, and it was extremely painful. It's a whole nother story I won't go into today, but it was a moment where I was like, who am I? What is my identity? Like, what does life look like now? And then financially, whoa, we don't have this income coming in anymore. I mean, I don't even think maybe I got 2 weeks, severance. It was just really hard. And so
Wow.
we thankfully had started investing. So we had some supplemental income, but then the second time, we had really set ourselves up better for that type of situation. So we learned, and we were able to prepare. Where the second time I was like, man, this sucks, but we're going to be fine. Like we have
Yeah.
our other streams of income. And so I can't say enough about not only having an emergency fund, which I think is vital, but also having those other streams, like thinking through strategically, like, what am I doing with my money? Like, how can I put it to work for me? How can I be really maybe frugal in other areas? We were frugal for a very long time of just not, we had money, but we were very cautious about how we spent it.
Mhm.
Instead, we were just constantly investing it. And so, there's a lot of opportunities out there. It may not be real estate for you, but I think there's some really great avenues to put your money to work so that you are protected and you have additional, income coming in that is not requiring your time.
Yes, because you can definitely have the rug pulled out from underneath you, especially when a job loss comes unexpectedly and you're not prepared. And that's certainly, I can imagine that's super scary.
So scary.
Wow. So going through a job loss is definitely difficult, but you said something super duper important, and we'll just, touch the top of the iceberg with this, but it's the identity that we have that is oftentimes tied to whatever we do professionally, or sometimes it could be also tied to I'm just a mom, and we forget everything else that we bring into this world.
Oh, that's so good. So good.
Yeah.
It's important to know who you are, like don't just tie it to, like you said, your work or you being a mom. Because I think we all, as humans, we're always thinking the grass is greener on the other side.
Hmm.
If I'm a full-time mom, man, and I hear that from some of my friends, like I really miss working. Or if I'm a full-time employee, man, I just wish I was home with my kids.
Yeah.
There's always something else out there. But I think just learning to be content and grateful in who you are, and not trying to change that,
Right.
because we are so much more than just our jobs or being moms.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties into what we were talking about earlier to make sure that you're finding things that bring you fulfillment, whether it is, at work or at home, yes, but also just for you so that you can remember the person you were before jumping into this big role at work or before becoming a mom, because that's important too, to kind of just have places that we can pour ourselves into that's not, these pockets of life and just staying there the whole time, because that can sometimes lose its fulfillment after a while. And it's good to have a balance of things to kind of be reminded of all the wonderful things that we have going on in our lives.
Oh, I totally agree. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with everything that you shared, oh no, before we end though, so In terms of your businesses, if people want to learn more about that and, how they can either invest or learn more, where can they go?
Yeah, so our website is actually Tailored Investments. You see at the top, it's my last name, but ED on the end, Tailored Investments.
Love the branding.
Thank you. We want to provide something that's I don't want to say customizable, but that we're able to figure out like what your needs are. What are your goals? Like, how can we
Mm.
help you? Because we're not going to maybe be the best fit for everybody, but we're very well connected in this industry. So if we can help, tailor something that is what you're looking for, that's part of our goal. So it's tailoredinvestments.co. And
I'm
we
glad that you finished that
yeah.
part.
It's
CO.
not it's not com, it's .co. So please visit us there. We have a free guide on creating financial freedom, and there's a lot of book recommendations we love to read. So grab that guide and you'll join our email list. We have some great educational material we send out, and then we also have a YouTube page, and I have a lot of videos there on passive investing through real estate. So I'd love to connect and help if this is something that might be of interest to your listeners. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So good. And your YouTube page is
It's Tailored Investments as well. Yep.
absolutely love the branding. I love when it's consistent throughout because it keeps it easy. And we'll make sure to include it in the show notes for folks who are interested. And Rebekah, last question for you. If you could be remembered for one thing in the world, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think living life to the fullest and helping others do the same, helping them, especially my family, my children, live a life that is impactful to others and serves others. Because again, it's not just about us.
Mhm.
It's about the people around us that we get the chance to impact. So yeah, I think it would just be living life to the fullest in service to others every day.
So good. I thank you for sharing your stories, the highs, the lows, everything in between. And I wish you all the best with your three peanuts and that you continue to see the world. I really hope that moms got a lot from this interview, from motherhood, but also to self-care and growing as a woman and, investing and growing that generational wealth. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Vanessa. I appreciate the time, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Absolutely. I'm truly so grateful for Rebekah sharing her various avenues of stories. As we just wrapped up, I said she offered a charcuterie board of options of things that could have resonated with you from mom life, from even before that, from pregnancy and birth trauma to momming and really taking care of your children and the routines you can set up and the experiences that you can expose them to just being a woman, being a wife, being a girl, and how you can take care of yourself in that way. And then to investing and hopefully building that generational wealth for you and for your families to come. So I just like for you to take a moment. There's so many things that really could have hit home depending where you are in your life right now. And I just want you to take this moment and pick out the number one thing that stands out for you. Don't overthink it, just whatever pops into your head first. And what you can do with that piece of information, whether it is seeking outside assistance in whatever way, and then what you can do internally. Is it shifting a mindset? Is it doing some homework or some legwork? Or is it, as Rebekah said, giving yourself some grace for all of the things and all of the plates that you juggle in your everyday life? My friends, I hope that this reflective, guided meditation serves you well. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Please do share this episode if you feel that you know someone that can get a lot from it. And know that in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next time. Hello, and welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast.